avoid as much as you can at the very early stage of the business to give up equity because that will hurt. I'm Atif. I'm the founder CEO of a company called Wootzano. We make very dexterous robots. So we allow robotic systems to really handle products which needs a bit of delicacy. So something which will be very intuitively common for a human to do so, we give the same intuition to a robot.
Mm. And I see, and we can see from your background, one of the key things is sort of fruit and vegetable picking. So how did you see a real need for this product, and what made you decide to create the company?
So this whole thing started quite a long time ago, 2012, 9 years ago now. I was very much interested. My background is in robotics, so I did a lot of work in something called swarm robotics, and effectively, swarm robotics deals with robots working in collaboration with each other without a central node, so they all have their own intelligence, but they all communicate with each other. But I knew that one of the biggest issues with robotic manipulation was the dexterity robots need. So one of the areas I was very fascinated, was in the field of nanotechnology. So how we can engineer nanostructures to give very interesting properties on a macro level. So, and one of the areas I got into at the time was drug delivery. So cancer drug or anti-cancer drug delivery without the need of traditional systems. So I got very interested with that, and I started doing research. I did my PhD, started my PhD in Edinburgh to do further work on developing these sort of biosensors and anti-cancer drug delivery mechanism. Whilst doing that in the first few months, I realized that the polymer I've developed, the plastic material I've developed, had very interesting properties. So we were able to deposit metals, so metals being very rigid, on this very stretchable plastic, if you want to call it, which can obviously is elastic. So it comes back when you stretch it, when you remove the stress. And we were able to get metal stick on it. We can stretch it. The metal doesn't fall off, which is very interesting because metals are rigid. So that led to sort of further work in understanding how we can utilize these sensors, and I realized that you can do very sensitive force pressure sensing, so like touch, feel, and so on. Then I used nanostructures, functionalize them. The nanostructures give a three-dimensional force, so it can tell you if something is slipping out of the hand, for instance, robot hand, but also go slightly beyond human evolution to give this skin or this material the ability to smell, so we can monitor or we can detect various chemical signatures. So all of that was then, when it was really cool. I got this amazing tech, and how do we get it out to market? What should I do, and which industry where this would be very much a requirement. And the issue in robotics was dexterous robotics, and one of the biggest issue in robotics is the cost, like how expensive just a manipulator is, and it doesn't really include your eyes, the cameras, the hand, none of that. Just a manipulator, the arm would somewhat cost $50,000 to like $250,000 plus. So it was very difficult to sort of get something at one hitting the price point, but also giving the robot the dexterity required. So I got introduced into the field of packaging, of fresh produce, and it was an instant click that, this industry relies heavily on manual labor, requires the kind of things which robots haven't yet mastered. So picking tomatoes, grapes, avocados, kiwi, things which can be easily damaged. That element is still done by humans. The human still picks up and inspects and cuts, or takes a bunch of grape, inspects, cuts, and does all of that. And that was sort of a spark. And then obviously I then created a lot of partnerships and work within the industry, understanding what the real issue was. And the issue was a lot more than what I originally estimated, because Packers make 1% margins on an average on everything they sell on fresh produce, and that's appalling because and the majority of the cost is on overheads and wages and everything else. And even with all of that, they don't have people coming in. They can't find people to do the work. So that's where we sort of got into this agricultural packaging industry, and started developing these robots to really pick and pack more dexterously. So essentially that's how the pivot towards agriculture started. And pun intended, the agriculture industry was a bit of a low-hanging fruit for us. So something we could capture without requiring a lot of regulatory body approvals. So
Mm. And agriculture as an industry, I think, is quite open to new tech, whether it be heavy machinery or irrigation or whatever it may be. So, what do you think the real challenges of getting this new technology into this industry are going to be?
well, so I think we already have these robots in the industry. We have plans throughout this year and next year. There are about 350 robots we'll be integrating into various pack houses to do grapes and tomatoes, and we're going to different fruits. Tomatoes, by the way, are scientifically fruit, but on a culinary level, they're classified as vegetables. But we have plans on getting these in place. So by the end of the year, if you go and pick a punnet of grape from major supermarkets, they would most likely be packaged by one of Wootzano's robots. So I think the industry is all about margins, and how well you can maintain those margins or make it better. Because at present the margins are significantly low. It's just not much you can do. The Even with that margin, even with all of that, you still have a lot of products which are wasted. There's no intelligence, not data driven. It's a person sort of just person's tacit knowledge, if you want to call it, where they look at a tomato and say, "Oh yeah, that looks good. Yeah, that goes in the planet." There's no data-driven sort of part behind it. So by using our robotic system, our customers are able to get essentially their money back within a year, because and the price point of our robot is linked to the price of or a salary of a human worker, and how much human worker would have costed in a year. And that's how we have sort of how do you say packaged this whole
Mm.
amazing tech, but packaged in such a way that it makes complete sense for the industry to adapt it. Because if you would have gone and said, you know what, it's an amazing tech, but it will cost you £500,000 for one robot, and you actually need to fill in the roles of, I don't know, 500 workers, you need 500 robots. It will not make an economic sense at all, because it's a massive investment. So you have uh, pretty much, you'll probably sell one or two as a showpiece, but you'll not have an actual integration of this. So the issue was always about price, but we had a model which was always defined based on how our customer will perceive the robotic system to be a good return of investment, as opposed to just an amazing tech. And I think that's a big issue with people developing technologies, is that the technology is first developed, and then the hope is that the end customer will like it and will adopt it. Uh, but it should always be the other way around, and which is what we've done.
Mm. And it sounds like it's very well thought out at that end of the spectrum, so right at the end of it, and getting it out into industry. So let's take a step back then. So you mentioned how much it cost to sort of develop these robots in the first place, and just the arm alone costing so much. So I assume investment was something that you needed to look at fairly early on in this journey.
Yeah. So a lot of our growth came organically. You'll be probably surprised to listen, because we had investment. So I took investment of £120,000 as a seed investment 2.5 years ago. And we basically, as me and the team, bought back those shares when the company did really well. um, we didn't needed to we didn't needed a massive private investment. We were fortunate enough to get a lot of grants to develop the technology. We obviously did a lot of we call it bootstrapping. We did some NRE contracts, which obviously got some revenue in, but we also had with business loans and those sort of things, which effectively finance the company. Because from our side, it was more about because of the demand what we had with the products. We had a lot of we had a lot of interest from the customers, and also the way we are doing this and where we are developing this is enabling the customer to be the biggest investor for the technology. So we took a year to scale up the technology from we were able to make about few sensors a week, 10 sensors a week. We now make 180 sensors a day with 99% yield. We at the moment with the production capacity, we can make just about 20 to 30 robots a month. But we have plans on expanding the production into a 50,000 square feet production site in the northeast of England, just where we are, just so that we can get the production to about 100 robots a month. And those are linked to our customers. So we have a commitment to provide to ship few hundred this year. But there are more and more customers who are coming on board, so we're able to get. We need to massively expand the production to a much more scaled up version to where we are. So a lot of the investment which is required early on was taken by private investment. I was one of the biggest investor in getting the product to where it needs to be, but a lot of it was organic. A lot of it was organically getting the customers interested and let them buy the products to effectively fund the company going forward.
Yeah, so it sounds like retaining that equity is really important to yourself and the company. With by the sounds of it, keeping your customers as the main investors in a way is a very strategic move, and the fact that you bought back equity from the seed investment. So why is that so important to you, and why should other founders consider that?
I think giving away equity at a very early stage of the business is a very touchy subject, because when you're starting up a business, especially if you're young and maybe naive in understanding what the investment world might require and what you may want to do with the company, um, there's a risk that you may end up giving a lot of control over the company you have developed. So as a founder, as someone who have built a company, the biggest motivating factor is not just the profits and things you will be getting. The reason why you've started your own company is because you wanted a level of control over what you want to do in the company. You did that because you wanted to leave a mark. You wanted to take decisions, of course, seek advice from everyone, but it should be your decision. Either it's good or not. Success or failure should be secondary, because you're obviously aiming for success, but it's your company. It's what you have decided to do. It's a risk you have taken to go forward. So if you end up giving a lot of the equity, what happens later on, and especially at the time of scale up, when you genuinely require a series A, series B, or series C type funding, where you're taking 40, 50 million pounds worth of funding required, uh, at that point you probably end up owning what, less than 10% of your company. Now there's a flip side to it. Yes, if the 10% of the company is, if the company is valued 500 million or 1 billion or 2 billion or whatever it is, then of course, yes, your share of 10% is still quite significant. But for me personally, that was not the major point. Yes, that's something we all want to do. I want to do as a forming the company. But the main thing is that it should still be a level of control which you as a founder should have, unless you don't want to. But if you don't want to, it's a massively stupid decision to start a company because it comes with sleepless nights, and it comes with all risk and eventually success. But it's a moment of complete dedication you need to have towards the company. So But on the flip side, that's one part. But the flip side, yes, there's at some points there's nothing you really can do uh, apart from taking external investment, because you need the money to do the development work or get the team in place, do the marketing and or whatever it is, get your product out to the market, to the customers, and you need a runway, whether that runway is 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, whatever it is. And in those circumstances, not much you can do, which is what I did. I went for initial seed investment to provide that runway. But that's the flip side of it. But I guess avoid as much as you can at the very early stage of the business to give up equity, because that will hurt. And as your company is generating revenue, and as the company is building more and more value, then when you do raise investment, you don't have to give up a large chunk of your company, because if your company is valued a healthy valuation, you'll be able to give a small percentage and still need what you need to get for the company. And for us, it also depends what your exit strategy is. Do you want yourself to be acquired? Do you want yourself to be, or do you see yourself to be sort of running the company, or is it that you've started the company and then that's basically it? I'll let others take over, and I'm gonna now maybe go on to a next project. But it depends on what you want. For me and for us as a company, as a team, we always wanted the product to be a sort of mass integration within the industry we are in, and also prep up the company to a point that we can do. But for us, the exit was all about flotation. So we would like the company to be floated. So that would be the return on investment to us, to me, to other investors in the business, and to all the employees who are also invested, not hard cash, but invested their time, blood, sweat, and tears.
Absolutely. And in return of that, you've now yourself and the team have proven this really works. So it's an exciting time now that you're ready to move to the next manufacturing plant and really ramp up how many of these robots you're producing. So what are the real challenges you see when making that jump, as exciting as it is to the bigger plant? What are the challenges that come with that?
I think it's there's a gap. I mean, trying to jump that gap. There's every bit of um, everything can act against you. So time is against you, money is against you. You have pretty much all sorts of issues you can imagine can come and can derail the success you've made. Um, but but I guess one of the biggest sort of part which you need to do during the time of scale up or during the time of commercial scale up is resilience. You need to be, I don't know how to put this, but you need to have this sort of mindset where you're always aiming for, you always know what the goal is, but you're always aiming for that one extra bit which you want to be doing into getting this product out to the market. And the biggest thing for any founder, for any company, is that if you are not engaged, do not be, for tech companies specifically, do not be married to your technology or your technical innovation, which may be one of those emotional or very touchy, again, one of those touchy subjects. But do not be too attached to your product, because it should always be engaging. The product should be engaging with the customer from the onset. And if you do that, you know that by the end of all the time and money you've invested, you have done something which the customers require, because they were there from the beginning of this, which is what we did. We had, we know, we're experts in robotic systems. We know what we need to do in robots. We have patented technologies. We do all sorts of things around the robots, but we still need the customer to tell us from the beginning, is it right? Is this what you really want? I mean, are we going completely in the wrong direction and wasting time and money? And that's what happens many times. In fact, many of the times is you go down, even with investment, take VC, you go with multiple rounds of funding, and then you realize that there's actually no real product to sell, because the product you have developed is not what the customer requires. Because you've now engaged with the customer after spending a couple of £1 million and 2 years of time, and then you've engaged with the customer and say, yeah, this is the amazing product. It's like, well, it doesn't do this. Wish yours just earlier. I think that's an important part. There are multiple challenges that is one of those things which may sound cliche, which I don't want to repeat those you know main pitfalls of cash flow and cash is king. I'm sure everyone talks about those things, but leaving those things aside, I'm more specific towards technology companies and the pitfall many of the tech founders fall in the very early days is not engaging with customers.
Absolutely.
In fact, no one really cares about your technology apart from yourself and your team. All the customer cares about is it solving the problem, and then the technology is brilliant. Then they go, oh yeah, that it's doing like that, so brilliant. Then you can talk about the technology as much as you want, but make sure is that really what they want to buy.
So it sounds like a really exciting time within the business. So for those watching, where can they find out more about yourself and the business?
I mean, there's a lot of information on a website. We try to revamp a lot of things. Is that there's a few videos which are coming up which showcases our robotic system. We had almost no marketing budget in the recent days. We just started putting some money towards getting some professionals on board to revamp the image, revamp get some videos out, just so that people understand exactly what we do, where we are. And I think anything people want to ask me, I'm always open on LinkedIn. I'm always keen to hear from other fellow tech founders or people who are thinking of starting a company. I'll tell them, please, slap yourself on your two side of your face and really think, are you doing the right thing?